The Indian general elections begin on the 19th of April. The votes will be counted on the 4th of June, which will decide who forms the next government in the world's largest democracy. As India is the world's fastest growing large economy, global investors are keeping a close watch on the general elections and its outcome. We tell you more in this next report.
As India braces for its upcoming general elections, global brokerage firm UBS has released a detailed analysis of the potential economic impacts of three key election outcome scenarios. According to UBS, the first scenario involves a complete victory for the Bharatiya Janata Party. The firm says this will likely result in policy continuity and a positive boost to business sentiment. Several other large investment fund houses have also bet that a BJP's victory will pave the way for significant progress in supply-side reforms, including clean energy transition, infrastructure spending, and targeted initiatives for various sectors of the economy. Alternatively, if a coalition government led by the BJP emerges, UBS predicts a similar momentum in economic reforms, albeit with some challenges. Tough policies such as disinvestment and land reforms may face political haggling and delays or may be put on hold. However, investors may find comfort in the expectation of less fiscal discipline concerns. In contrast, should the Indian National Developmental Inclusive Alliance win, markets could express concerns about fiscal discipline and a potentially less decisive government. This may lead to delays in implementing reforms and hinder private corporate investment recovery. More importantly, investor sentiment, including foreign inflows, is likely to take a hit, at least in the near term. UBS's analysis is based on a review of past election manifestos and the Modi government's track record over the past decade. While the government's focus on economic reforms and social welfare schemes has garnered support, challenges such as unemployment and inflation remains key concerns. With the election scheduled across 7 phases from April 19th to June 1st, investors and stakeholders will be laser-focused on the outcomes. Bureau Report WION. World is one.
And for more on this, we are now being joined by Mr. Jayant Krishna, who's a senior fellow at the Center for Strategic and International Studies. Sir, welcome to World Business Watch. How do you assess India's economic outlook post these elections?
So, Shivang, there are three scenarios. One is that BJP wins on its own. It has its simple majority. Other is that NDA has a simple majority. And third, of course, the India Alliance wins and they run the government, kind of a thing. But, as we all know, all political pundits are talking about, BJP winning, most probably on their own itself. And if that happens, there'll be a policy continuity for sure. And last few years, I think it is quite appreciable the way BJP-led government has maintained certain fiscal prudence, and the fiscal deficit has been largely contained. So I think that would continue. That's something very good. I think where in last 10 years and especially last 5 years, BJP has done very well is BJP-led government. I mean, they have done very well that there's been a huge amount of infrastructure push, which would continue. Huge leverage of digitization process in the country would continue. That's good. Disinvestment should also continue or perhaps get intensified, but that would depend whether BJP comes to power on its own or they need other allies to have the majority. So I think that could shift. Some of the trade deals with major countries like UK and EU and some of the trade irritants between between US and India, I think those should also get sorted. And PLI, which is currently in 14 sectors, has led to a thrust in industrialization and also FDI, which has gone up. So I think these are all these things should continue if BJP comes to power, post-elections.
Mr. Krishna, now you've given us like a long-term outlook to this after the elections, what happens in the next term. I wanted to get your opinion in the short term as well. The elections are spanning across April, May, and 1st June is when it finally ends. That's the 7th phase. I wanted to understand from you, with the election spanning several phases, what challenges do businesses face in terms of uncertainty and how can they adapt their strategies accordingly? Of course, as far as the uncertainty is concerned, it'll perhaps be in the southern states, but how do you feel businesses are going to be responding to it?
So, Shivan, I mean, I have a feeling, both having seen the US-India, business landscape very well as UK-India, at least these two. I think businesses all over the world, they expect, some kind of a regulatory certainty in the country. That's very important. And therefore, while they make investment, they do not want the rules of the game to change midway, because that doesn't form a level playing field. And also in India, there has been a huge compliance burden of various laws, of various rules, and so on and so forth. I think to BJP's credit, in the last few years, they have decriminalized almost 3,600 compliances, and almost 41,000 compliances have been reduced to improve the ease of doing business. So I think people would expect that to continue. And business, in general, would expect regulatory certainty to continue, a policy continuity to happen. But at the same time, some of the more, irritants, like Uniform Civil Code, which has been on BJP's agenda, the land acquisition bill, the modified one, or the amendment, or a new bill, whichever way they want to take it, and intensifying disinvestment. I think this would largely depend on whether BJP comes to power. They have a majority of their own, or they have to use other NDA allies, to have majority in Lok Sabha. So I think that's very important.
Yes.
To my mind, Shivan, some of the riskier, investments, especially from an FDI perspective, the businesses all over the world may like to hold that. Suppose, for example, if Modi wins, it's fine. If Congress-led India Alliance comes to power, it would also be fine, because let's not forget, Congress is the one who in 1991, brought the most important economic reforms in the country. So that would continue. But if there is a regional party-led India Alliance victory, that would be unstable and very, very, and even, they may resort to some of the populist measures, and that may throw the fiscal prudence out of gear. So I think these kind of challenges businesses have. And I'm sure, they will, some of the investments may get slowed down if the current government does not come back to power.
Mr.
Otherwise,
Krishna,
it will be business to my mind.
You spoke about investments. That's where I want to get your thoughts next. India has seen a significant inflow of foreign funds in the build-up of elections. There have been a lot of investments here as well. How do you see this investors' confidence just before the elections at the moment?
So that's very encouraging. Actually, if you study various governments and the 5-year tenure that they have had in India, typically in the last year, the FDI slows down. It slows down because of a political uncertainty, and business wants to have a wait and watch kind of an approach. But I think last 1 year, if you look at, FDIs stood at around almost 17.96 billion, which is very, very encouraging. But an area of concern to me is that a very substantive part, almost 26% of the last 1 year, financial year FDI, because March is almost ending, has come from Mauritius, and 23% from Singapore. So I think, some of these investments remain suspect, and how many of them actually materialize, those kind of issues are always there.
Right.
US has been 9%, Netherlands almost 7%, Japan 6%. So I think that's good. And some of the sectors where this FDI has come, which has got intensified in the last few months, has been services, of course, which includes BFSI, and computers, both, not just the software, but hardware as well. Trading FDI has gone up, telecom, auto. So I think these are all good stories. And, I think one reason why FDI has been galloping in the last few months is because businesses around the world, they feel that Modi is going to come back to power, and BJP will resume power. They'll get their third term, and the kind of continuity in terms of policy as well as regulation would continue.
Yes.
So that gives the business a comfort, and because of which you are seeing a spurt in FDI in the last few months, and full year as well.
All right, that was Mr. Jayant Krishna, Senior Fellow, Center for Strategic and International Studies, joining us right here on World Business Watch. Sir, thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure.